Apple held its One More Thing event this afternoon, introducing a new lineup of Macs, which will be the first to use Apple's own silicon chips, moving away from Intel's core processors. And joining us now, good friend of the show, Mark Spoonauer, global editor-in-chief at Tom's Guide. Mark, great to speak with you on the day. The new silicon chips are being called the M1 chip. So how significant do you believe this new era will be for Apple Macs?
I think this is a game changer for the Mac, because a lot of people have been waiting for Apple to design its own chips. They've been doing it for over a decade for the iPad and the iPhone, and now they're finally doing it for the Mac. But it's not just about being able to run iOS apps on your Mac. It's about delivering better performance and better efficiency for the same cost as before. And I think Apple just put Intel on notice.
Okay, putting Intel on notice with this development, of course, we're taking a look at some of the B-roll, of course, that they were putting around this M1. But Tim Cook and company also unveiling a new MacBook Air, MacBook Pro, MacBook Mini that are powered by this new chip. So are the MacBooks that we have right now, are they going to become obsolete?
I think down the road that they will. Apple has said that they're going to support Intel-based Macs for the next couple of years, so it's going to be a slow transition. And we should definitely be transparent about the fact that there's going to be some challenges here. Apple has to prove that its new chips can not only run its own apps very well, but also the hundreds of third-party apps out there that were originally written for Intel. And they have a technology called Rosetta that's going to help with that emulation. And Apple says that under this technology, that a lot of the apps that we're already using are going to run just as well. But that's where the reviews come in. What gets me most excited about these new Macs is not just the performance, but the battery life claims. So they're saying up to 20 hours for the new MacBook Pro and 17 hours for the MacBook Air. So we actually have our own web surfing battery tests, so we're going to be putting those claims to the test.
Okay, you got to circle back and let us know how they do when put under test. Apple also announcing it's going to release the Mac OS Big Sur, while the company displayed some universal apps that work with both the M1 chip and the Intel chip. Do you believe that this integration is a permanent thing or only temporary while they do have customers, clients, and developers that are making that pure changeover?
Yeah, they definitely need to get as many developers as possible into this new ecosystem, and they've been doing that behind the scenes. You saw a couple of demonstrations today. I think Photoshop is going to be a big one, and they're saying that's coming early next year. But I think the big difference between what Apple is doing right now and what Microsoft has been doing with ARM chips on Windows laptops is that Apple owns the whole widget. Microsoft partnered with Qualcomm for their chip. Apple owns the chip. And I think you're going to see a lot less compatibility issues with the ARM-based Macs than you have with the ARM on Windows. So in fact, ARM on Windows has been going through so many growing pains. It's actually given the whole ARM computing industry a black eye. And I think Apple needs to put it rescue that a little bit. And I think they're going to have a lot of momentum heading into this holiday season.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but if I do remember correctly, last year when Apple was announcing some of their new products, especially on the Mac side of the business, there was some criticism because they had forgotten about the creative professional out there with some of the functionality, even ports. That's what it came down to as well for some of those creative professionals. And did you think that they did a good job of appeasing that particular audience that is going to be so critical for perhaps the higher end of some of the hardware that Apple produces?
That's a really good point. I think today was about just putting their toe in the water, and we're going to see more powerful Macs down the road. What we didn't see today was a 16-inch MacBook Pro, and they said that the M1 chip was their first ARM-based chip, right? It's their first Apple Silicon chip. There's going to be more coming down the road. So, I don't think they necessarily satisfied people who really want the most power possible. And in fact, if you go to buy a MacBook Air right now, the only version available is the ARM-based one with the M1. But for the 13-inch MacBook Pro, you can still get the Intel model. And that goes to show that I think they know that there's people out there who still want Intel-based Macs. So it's going to be a transition period.
Indeed. And just lastly, while we have you here, due to COVID-19, Apple is unveiling its new products, iPhone 12, the new Apple Watches, iPads, all different events as we had seen. How do you how do you think this strategy becomes effective? Is it something that they implement and kind of do years out from now as well? Or is this a era response that we're kind of looking at from this tech giant?
I think it's kind of the new normal in a way, because you really have to think about what is the type of event that really rises to the level of having people fly in from all over the world. I would say, maybe something like a new iPhone or in a completely new category like Apple Glass down the road would warrant something like that, where you really want to have people in the room and get that feeling and the Apple reality distortion field that they're able to do. But I think for smaller launches, like a new iPad, or even in some cases like a new MacBook, I think you could probably go virtual for those. So I think you're probably going to see a split down the road.
All right. We're going to be watching closely, and I know you will as well. Mark Spoonauer, who's the global editor-in-chief at Tom's Guide. Great to speak with you, Mark.